We got that Poppa Pink. We got that Poppa Pink. We got that Poppa Pink. We got that Poppa Pink.
Hey, let's do it.
Yes, here we go. Let us do it all.
It's a salmon kind of day.
We got that Poppa Pink. We got that Poppa Pink. We got that Poppa Pink. We got that Poppa Pink.
Greetings, welcome to the Poppa Pank podcast. I am Jaylene Clark Owens, and this is my friend and my co-host,
Justin Jane.
There's a lot of gray in the world. We think it needs a little more pink. Poppa Pank. We are a Philly-based, multi-hyphenated, and award-winning actors taking on all things arts and culture in this joy-forward and ever-playful podcast. We are listening to the tunes of our theme song composed by Jordan McCree, member of the band Ill Dukes. We welcome you, our Pink Poppas, both old and new. Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate y'all. And with that, let's get it started.
Yes! Summertime!
Yes, thank you, Mama Pat. She says, good evening, loving the hair.
For our listeners out there, that is from our live studio audience. Hey, Jaylene, hi. Jenny Vasquez says hi. Jaylene, what songs about summer do you have for us? Do you have any?
Well, there's always the classic summertime.
And summertime and the living is easy. What else you got?
Well, the hit of this summer is Essence. The song is called Essence by Wizkid.
Yes. Well, I prefer the songs about being hot because it has been hot here in Philadelphia.
Yes.
But that has not stopped us from living our fully vaxxed summer dreams. Mm-hmm. Jaylene has been dancing and beaching. I have been traveling and touristing. It is feeling like life is back online in full swing. And because it is summertime, a lot of arts and culture activity tends to slow down until the fall. So we wanted to dedicate this very special episode to summer herself and all things travel. I've already been on a few Pank adventures and have more trips coming up, as I'm sure many of our listeners out there do as well.
Yes, I would think that traveling is culture, right?
That is culture.
You're cultured when you travel, so we're still on brand. Thank you.
Culture is a state of mind.
Yes, I'm just loving this salmon. Like, we literally did not plan this, y'all.
We ate salmon. We went fishing and caught some salmon, rubbed it on our clothes for all of our listeners out there. Our clothes became pink, and now they're salmon. Some people would call it coral.
That's true. Coral or salmon, and you can find salmon next to coral. So I don't think that's how the water works. I don't think that's how it works. Moving on. So, because we are talking about travel, I said, you know what? Let me get my friends on this podcast, okay? Kristie Yeung and Elizabeth Jan, aka EJ, Espada. These two are always traveling, whether it's together or on solo trips or with groups. It is my favorite time when they go away because I just stalk them on IG. I look at all of their stories for their entire trip every day, multiple times a day. I'm like, all right, so what they doing now? That looks nice. That looks good. So I was like, who better else? EJ.
That definitely, I am so guilty of that, of just like living vicariously through other people's summer plans. And I can't wait to start following EJ and Kristie and also feeling like I'm there when I'm stuck in my home doing homework. But the thing that gets me the most tickled for summer in a summer mood is a fresh and bright summer cocktail.
Woo!
Let's do it.
I think it's about that time. Get your glass so we can clank.
It's time for that. Papa drank.
Papa drank.
Papa drank.
Papa drank.
Papa drank. And cheers. And cheers.
Arriba, abajo, al centro, adentro.
Jingle más cara. Mabuhay. Yes.
And if I said that wrong, if we said any of the arriba wrong, EJ will correct us because she has given me notes on that.
And maybe our guests can give us more. I feel like it's not long enough. I feel like our cheers is not long. We need like 1 or 2 more. We're due. So let's talk about what we're drinking. I have in this glass a gin and cheer wine. Do you know what cheer wine is?
Cheer wine?
Cheer wine. I'm going to show you. Once again, cheer wine. Now, some people out there, some of our listeners are going to be like, oh, cheer wine, because they know it's a Southern thing. But
please do that in the comments if you have ever heard of cheer wine.
If any of our Pank Poppas, our listeners, our live studio audience knows cheer wine, look, Crystal Clark knows it, cheer wine. So I'm bringing this in because the first time I tried it was my first time traveling to Tennessee. That's where I had this. My husband and I, my husband, he was like, have you ever had this? And I was like, no, what is this? I drank it and was blown away. It's kind of like if Dr. Pepper and Cherry Coke had a baby and then you just added another shot glass full of sugar.
But is it alcohol or no?
No, it's just a soda, but it is like the bane. If you're like a holistic, like whole foods, no sugar kind of person, this is like the devil. This is your devil.
Good.
But I already feel jittery. It has caffeine too. So because we are honoring travel in this episode, I thought it would be apropos to drink one of my first travel drinks. So what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Pink Catawba. They spelled pink wrong. You see, it needs to say Pank.
They spelled it with an I, not an A.
You know, but close enough. This is a Penn Shore, Pennsylvania table wine. The Native American Catawba grape produces this very fruity pink wine with a pleasant sweet flavor. So you know that sounds like me all the way.
That sounds like summertime in a glass too.
Yes, exactly. So it's very good. This is my first time having it. So cheers, Pank Poppas. What are y'all drinking? Let us know in the comments. Laura is having rosé
all day.
Rosé all day. Let us know. Let us know what you're drinking. All right.
Let's move on to our next segment. We're going on to Tickle Pink. Tickle Pink is where we usually talk about something that has been bringing us joy recently. And it's also a bit of catch up for Jaylene and I. So, Jaylene, what has you tickle Pank these days?
Well, what has me tickle Pank is that I just came back from LA this week. I was in Los Angeles visiting my best friend Hollis, who we've had on the show, friend of the podcast. She was on our Killer Whale episode. And we just had such a good time. Like the weather was beautiful. We got to go to the beach. We went to LACMA, which is the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And they have this, what you call it? It's called Urban Light. It's an urban light installation. So there's all these like high, really tall lights that they have, like light poles.
Yeah.
And, people take pictures. And I saw another proposal. When I was shooting earlier maybe like last month, I was shooting something in front of the Love Park statue, and someone did a proposal, and then again in LA someone did a proposal. So it's nice.
You, Jaylene. It's you. You are putting that energy out in the world. So if you're looking to get married, make sure you find Jaylene, and suddenly the person next to you will be on their knees.
Yep. Ooh. Oh. Anyway, so it was a great time. That would have you tickle Pink. It was a great time in LA. It was just really great. So
I must say, I saw the pictures. I lived vicariously through your some of your story, and you were rocking that Ofure every day, all day. Ofure, hey, J Lay, where Ray, Ofure.
Thank you. That'll be my new commercial for
you look so Hollywood. I was
Thank you. I felt Hollywood. It was very nice. I was tickle Pank that whole entire time. What has you tickle Pank these days?
Okay, so I also want to bring in a touch of arts and culture today, as I've recently had a kind of like staycation here in Philly, doing like a ton of cultural offerings. I've been to the Philly Zoo, the Please Touch Museum, the Franklin Institute, Adventure Aquarium, and they're all incredibly awesome alternative offerings for things to do, whether it's a rainy day or not, both with or without the kids. So I was doing that all with my daughter. But the most memorable of these sightseeing was a recent trip to the barns I took on the Parkway. Have you ever been to the barns? Have I asked you that before?
I don't think so, but I have not been there. I went there during that same shoot I was just talking about, and they were closed. So we just took pictures outside.
Well, for our listeners who don't know, the Barnes Foundation is here in Philadelphia, and it's a massive collection of post-impressionist and expressionist artworks, as well as ancient artifacts and handicrafts curated by the late Albert C. Barnes. Now, of the hundreds and hundreds of paintings are numerous famous ones by folks like Van Gogh, Picasso, Renoir, Manet, and countless others. But the thing that makes this museum so unique is the way everything is displayed. So Mr. Barnes likes showcasing the work in ensemble style, which means he grouped paintings together and objects together and placed them like a mosaic along each of the four walls of a room with no placard, no name card, no information, nothing. So you enter a room and it's just like four walls of all this art. So it forces you as an audience to make connections about form or content. And it's like holding this Picasso, this really famous painting, right next to something that you might not know as much about. But the thing I was most tickled pink was seeing a current temporary exhibit about Soutine and Willem de Kooning, who are both abstract expressionist artists, but who don't have anything to do with one another. And I'm currently taking an abstract art class through Fleischer, and seeing these works was really inspiring. And I'm thinking about those paintings today, and I'm feeling a little bit better with abstract art, which I usually have a lot of hard time with.
Well, soon we'll see your paintings in the barn.
There we go.
Can't wait.
I'm going to sell them each for $5,000. Thank you.
There we go. Side note, one more quick tickled Pank. Carl Clemens Hopkins.
Yes.
Who is we know him from the Philly theater scene. He recently is in come on, help me. Hanks. Not Hanks. We should have
on the spot. Recently nominated. Hacks. You got the HA right. Hot.
Hacks is the show. He is Emmy nominated now.
An Emmy. Yeah. There is so much Philly out there and so many local folks that are just representing on the larger scale. And I'm so happy about that. But Carl, here's to you. We love you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers to that. All right. Speaking of our favorite people, I think it's about that time.
It is that time. Okay. We here at Poppa Pank love our interview segment called Pop In with Poppa Pank. This is our chance to catch up with some of our industry friends and share with our audience a little bit about their processes and personal stories as professional artists or professionals in whatever their field is. This is where you've seen us hang out with folks like James Imes, David Diggs, Robin Hood, Brett Robinson, Mama Pat, and a host of other film, TV, stage, and music artists.
Yes, so we are so excited to welcome our special guest today. So let me get into their bios first. So Elizabeth Jan, aka EJ, has been an educator in speech language. Of course, I would stumble as I'm saying speech language pathologist, right? Lord have mercy. Okay, so clearly I need to get into some speech therapy. Okay, enunciate. Has been an educator in speech language pathologist, SLP, in the public schools for 10 years, serving bilingual children with communication challenges. Ever curious about language, food, and culture, she continues to jet set on school breaks for both solo and group trips around the world. If she wasn't an SLP, she'd be a personal travel consultant for family and friends while curating individualized itineraries.
Yes. And also coming to our stage is Kristie Yeung. Kristie Yeung is an Asian American producer. Yes. Marketing strategist and storyteller committed to uplifting diverse and historically underrepresented voices. Raised in New York, she never stops talking about food. Already has my heart. Find her exploring eating or advocating on Instagram at KTOTHEYEUNG. Let us welcome to our stage and studio, EJ and Kristie.
Woo!
EJ, Kristie, welcome to Poppa Pank. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing? EJ?
My pleasure. It's a big, big honor to go from being a type-in guest, to audience member and not be a featured guest. Thank you.
Yeah, Kristie, how are you? Oh, we can't hear you right now.
Oh,
might be a. There we go. We got you.
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Yes. I am so very excited. We are going to ask a few questions, and then because we are all about the shenanigans, we are going to play some games. So Pank Poppas, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments, and we will do our best to get some of them answered.
But first, we always start our pop-in sessions by asking our guests about memories they have with one or both of us. And since you both come to Poppa Pank as friends of Jaylene, I would love to know how you both met Jaylene, or how you met each other, or any memories you have. Just something about your personal connection. EJ, you go first.
Sure. So I know Jaylene way back from our undergrad days in upstate Ithaca, where there was not too much to do, but we made the most of it on our international trips as part of our scholarship program. So our Spain and Morocco trip really stands out in my mind, where we were obsessed with all things shawarma and clementines. We would go all throughout the cobblestone streets trying to find them in the middle of the night, and it was glorious.
Correct.
I love that. What about you, Kristie?
So yeah, we all know each other from college, and college was a very long time ago. So I'm pretty sure Jaylene and I met in summer orientation, only because there's photos of this.
Yes.
But the most memories I have with Jaylene is through Spit That, because we were in this spoken word poetry group that she had created on campus. And I was a part of that, and it was an amazing experience doing poetry with her.
Oh, I love that. And Jaylene, what about memories of EJ or Kristie for you?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I will echo what Kristie said with Spit That. And Kristie, you served on the board for Spit That, and Kristie is just a phenomenal poet as well. And also our OMA is the Office of Multicultural Affairs. That was the summer orientation we did. I think that's just where we bonded. That's where our group started to form. And so
I was never a part of OMA.
So scratch what I just said. Just scratch everything that I just said.
Everyone from OMA.
Because you and Liz were close. See, this is the thing. Kristie always felt like family because she just fell right into the group. Hence me thinking in my mind, I just inserted Kristie into OMA. But Kristie and I also have that New York connection, as EJ as well. So it's just, there's always been that special bond. And then EJ, yes, I feel like we probably met first with MLK stuff. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Program. We have some classic photos of us traveling. I should have pulled some of those up for today.
Somehow, many of them are me nestled in your bosom.
Exactly. It's always a great photo. And we were roommates for a year, 2 years, 1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Oh my gosh. I love it. It sounds like you all have such good memories and good travel experience under your belt too. And so this is our summer travel episode, and I'm thrilled to have you two as professional travelers here to share your stories and tips and tricks for travel as the world starts to slowly back up. So let's get into some questions. I know our Pank Poppas, our live audience out there, has a lot of questions rolling in. We're going to get to all of those or some of those questions here at the end of this little Q&A. You are getting some love from our live audience. EJ.
Lots of Ithaca people in the audience.
Hello, Ithaca. Welcome to Poppa Pank. So my first question is, let's get to know your individual travels first. What are some of the places you visited, and what are a couple of standout memories, and why? EJ, let's start with you.
Sure. I actually just got back a few days ago from the Dominican Republic. I have been living my best villa life through a dear friend who has a villa out in the countryside. So I think that during the pandemic, I may have been there like 6 or 7 times. I wish the mosquitoes would recognize me as the affectionate traveler that I am. It's not happened that way just yet. So it's been wonderful to just kind of hang out on the beach and have some local their moonshine called Mamawana. But definitely overall my travels, I continue to work in the schools. That's my passion. And then my other passion kind of seeps in because I get to travel every 5 or 6 weeks through my schedule. And definitely the most important thing is to really push yourself past your comfort zone. So I'm thinking back to one country has my heart forever and ever for pushing me past all my many firsts. And that would be New Zealand. I had the opportunity to study abroad there. I picked the furthest country away, as my mother would say. I actually lost February 20th, 2008. Hope you guys all had a great day that year. I didn't get to experience it through my travels. It's a very far of journey. And then while I was there, I bungee jumped and skydived and did some zorbing and definitely ate more lamb. You know, there's more sheep than people there, so that's always really fun. I always believe in some transferable skills too. So I happen to be Puerto Rican heritage, and so I took some Pacific Island dance classes. And you know, the Cook Islands are like shake your hips as fast as you can go, but I'm more down with the Samoans, where it's like the more gluttonous you are and well fed, the richer and wealthier you are. So it's a slow little pace. I'm down for that. Definitely. It comes down to hiking as well. I definitely was a New Yorker city girl when I went there. And then I met, you know, all the locals, affectionately called Kiwis. They are all about being outdoors. And it took about 2.5 months of me settling in, like, all right, I'm ready to go on an outdoor hike to an uninhabited island. And there are no animal predators that have been ever imported there. So to this day, that's the only place that I have slept outside.
Wow.
From now on, I will be in the woods in the daytime and somewhere in civilization at night. But yeah, just some good old mosquitoes, not even snakes. And that's quite the contrary when you think about New Zealand being so close to Australia, where nearly every animal you encounter may kill you. New Zealand is one of the best countries.
Oh my gosh, you just sold me on that. EJ. I thought I was going to go to the grave and never see that place, but now it's on the list.
And New Zealand gets skipped over, but they do bring in the new year before Australia. I always put that out there.
Huh. Nice.
Bad.
EJ, I mean, Kristie, what about you?
I have so many trips that come to mind, but probably my favorites have been Japan. I'm part Japanese, and it's a part that I don't get to explore a lot in my family. So I just love being there and like getting to know the culture, getting to know the language, definitely getting to know the food. And then I also loved Italy. I've been there twice now. I've been all over Italy. And then I had a really amazing, fun birthday trip where we also lived the villa life in Croatia with like 10 of my friends.
Oh my gosh, I think between the 4 of us, we might have the world covered. We'll have to do that as a bonus episode. I love that. Oh my gosh, Japan is also on my bucket list. I really want to go to Tokyo and just be in a big mega city. Really wanting that.
I think Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, and it's worth exploring Japan in multiple different environments. So Kyoto is where the bamboo forest is. So much nature. Tokyo is obviously the metropolitan side, and so I fully suggest like going all over the country. And like there's also a little town called Nara that has like these baby deer just like roaming around.
Yes.
That's so cool. Like, we're going to have such a long list of places that we want to go by the end of this episode. Now, Kristie, you just talked about this big group trip to Croatia, which sounds amazing. I know to some people that doesn't sound amazing. Some people don't like group travel. Mm-hmm. So you both you've traveled as a duo, you've traveled solo, you've traveled as a group, and these all can be very different. So you two, when you travel together, what makes that successful, and what are some tips if you travel solo or with a group? Kristie, let's start with you.
So I definitely think you want to travel with people who are like-minded. EJ and I happen to be very like-minded in terms of travel. We get along so well. We like some structure, but not complete rigidity. We like a little flexibility. We like to be spontaneous. And I think there is healthy, like super healthy communication, just like with any time you go plan or do anything with someone. And I think that's important with travel. I also think it's important to be upfront about your expectations on the trip, like what you expect to do, what you expect not to do. Costs are definitely a thing to talk about, and I think that's what makes like group travel like kind of iffy for some people because they're like, I don't want to bring up costs. I'm scared, and I'm like, nah, you gotta do that.
So set a budget ahead of time is what you're saying.
Yeah, and or just at least if you're the one planning, be mindful like of what their budget is, and not just try to like put your agenda on the table. And yeah, I think those are the communication is key.
Okay, EJ, do you have any feedback on solo trips?
Well, I think you have a lot of wiggle room when it comes to a solo trip to figure out what are some must-dos that you would really regret leaving that country and not having done. And, you're creating your own budget. So you may have some opportunities to be creative in cooking in an Airbnb, but then, treating yourself to a wonderful 5-star dinner that your money stretches a little bit in other countries. So that's an option too. I will go back to group travel. I'll piggyback off of Kristie. I think we have a nice balance, and she likes to plan out where we're going to eat, and I like to plan out what we're going to do. And when I say plan, it's like suggested menu activities, and we're like, oh, but that sounds really cool. We'll do that instead. So that's really helpful. And also matching energy levels. I think it's important to note when I am an introvert when it comes to recharge, and Kristie's the opposite. And so I need a little quiet time at night to reset, and then I'm ready for the morning. But I will shout out your former guest, Hollis Heath, as being the best organizer of group travel communication and expectations. I saw Kwesi in the comments. I went to Ghana last year. I am talking about Ghana. And so there was a group travel where really Hollis was our connect. We're all acquaintances through her. And she sent out this questionnaire that was as specific as, should we speak to you before you have coffee? To as general as how rigid are you following an itinerary if we don't get to that museum today? Will that be a big issue? I thought that was super helpful. And then we were able to think back in the trip too, as we're getting to know each other better, like, oh, she's a quiet, she hasn't had her coffee, give her some space. So I think it's really helpful to have clear expectations and really be flexible. Anyone who knows me knows my favorite phrase is the power of a pivot, and you cannot be too rigid. There are mistakes that are going to happen. There are things that are going to surprise you. I'm thinking back to when Kristie and I went on a trip to Colombia together, and we wanted to do the 700 steps up the Guatapé. Fun fact, Kristie thought it was 7,000 steps, so chance she was willing to do it. We got to so anyway, there was this big bicycle race happening throughout the whole country. And we're like, no, we're going to get there. So we moved it around a different few days. We finally get out there. We are, we consider ourselves relatively fit and healthy, and we made our way up to the top, nearly dying of, no oxygen. High altitude there too, but we made it, and we got back down, and we're like, yeah, we could live with never doing that again.
Once is good. Once is good.
Once is good.
Well, I love that.
Definitely worth doing.
I feel like you dropped so many gems in there, Kristie and EJ. The budget, communication, expectations, pivoting. Those are all things I tend to take for granted when I'm traveling in a group, or I tend to want to just go with the flow. And I think it's good to communicate who's going to be in charge of what is everybody's speed here. And yes, as an introvert myself, am I going to be around these people all the time, or am I going to get to close a door? And that goes so far from me. But I also love traveling solo. And so speaking of solo, we have some solo questions for each of you. Kristie, as a content producer and explorer, I'm curious how your work overlaps with travel and any tricks you have for folks looking to turn their vacays into content, or even new ways of capturing personal memories other than just like the selfie. Or I'm just curious what you have for that.
I think y'all content producers as well, and I think everyone underestimates how much planning goes into content producing. like you need to know what type of story you're trying to tell, what type of shots you need to take, you need to capture, what time of day you need to do it, what outfit to do it in. Like all of those things are worth thinking about. And when you're traveling, it's not like you can go back. I mean, you can, but you just like wasted a trip. So it's really worth like thinking about like, okay, I need to take as much content as possible. And sometimes the downside of that is that you're not as like living in the moment as you might be. But that is the other side. And I think writing out like a shot list or something like that is helpful when you're on a trip and you're like, okay, like I just need these things. Let me get those things out the way, and then I can enjoy my time in whatever view or restaurant or whatever place I'm in. I think making sure that you capture as much as possible is also good, so that you could like figure out later like what you're gonna do with it. Just like with writing, you want to like kind of like draft out like what you're trying to like what story you're trying to say, basically.
Yeah. Can I ask a little follow-up question? Just because I feel like some of our listeners out there don't exactly know what a content producer does or what that is or why it's important. Can you just like touch a little bit about your job?
Sure. So right now I'm a marketing director, and right now I work for a personal financial literacy company. But I also like doing things on the side. And a lot of content producing is just creating content for social media, for websites, for email newsletters. So it's basically everything you read and see on the internet.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I just say like I live on the internet, basically.
We all do, and we don't even know it. So, audience, we know you have some questions. We'll get to those shortly.
Yes, Kristie, yes to everything you said. Shot list, all of that. When I went to LA, Hollis and I take lots of photos. We literally took over 1,300 pictures and videos
like normal.
in 4 days. Okay, so I understand. And now, what?
Are you just using your phones or professional equipment? Yeah.
No, our phones. And so, yeah, but if you have a lot of content, then you can create your montage, which I'll be releasing a montage tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, knowing what you want to get. And also, if you're doing with a group, know who wants to do that kind of stuff. Because like my friend Cheyenne, who also friend of the podcast, was on the same Kilowatt episode. She's not going to be doing that. She don't want to take no photos, doing all the videos, all of that. So don't ask. But Hollis is there for it. So know your group.
To add on to that, when I travel solo, I bring a mini tripod for my phone for that reason. Obviously, when I'm with people, I like figure out who will tolerate that.
Exactly. Very important.
And I have friends who know me well enough to like wait before they touch the food for me to take.
Period. You gotta know. Like, don't act like this is brand new. Don't act like you're surprised when I pull out my phone to take pictures of the food. Like, please. Anyway, okay, EJ, I have a question for you. Can you share any instances where being bilingual was super helpful while doing international travel? And do you have any moments where language was a barrier?
Yes, so I speak Spanish, which is helpful in some parts of the world. And so I'm thinking back to my time in the Galapagos Islands, where for those that don't know, you have to go with a tour company. I went as a solo onto a tour company, and it's a national park, well protected for the animals, but there's also no major hospital. And again, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, the captain tells me like, oh, we're going to go, feeding some fish to the hammerhead sharks. And I was like, well, tell me more about these hammerhead sharks because that sounds kind of dangerous. And they're like, no, these are very friendly. They don't actually bite. Sure. I get in to the water in my little scuba gear, and I sliced my foot on the coral, and I didn't realize that until I got back in the boat. So I guess that is true that hammerheads are not aggressive even during feeding. But Spanish really came in handy because I was able to communicate very effectively with the captain and the tour guides that they were not to medically evacuate me. The next day I was meant to see the giant tortoises, and I wasn't going to be going back to the Galapagos. So I got some stitches in a little clinic, and I kept it moving, but it was very helpful to be able to like handle safety concerns, right, in a language that you can effectively communicate in. So that's one where speaking Spanish definitely came in handy. Yeah, I'm okay. The foot is healed, and I had the tortoises, and they were incredible. I'd recommend going, and then just splash in the boat for the hammerhead part.
Oh my gosh!
And one time that the language barrier really came into play is that I spent 2 weeks with my boisterous family touring Italy for my mom's 60th birthday, and as I needed some Zen time afterwards, I flew to Laos after that for about a week. And I thought to myself, well, Laos is kind of like Thailand, it's very touristy. There's a reason people generally go to Thailand with a group or even solo because you can get around. So I thought it'd be fun to do a 2-day boat ride along the Mekong River into Thailand. What I didn't know is that it was more of a commuter experience. So I ended up being the captain, his 2-year-old, and myself. So I went through my book, and I went through all my portable chargers, and I was watching miles of muddy water, a hut. Miles later, I said, oh, I don't speak anything about Laotian. So a lot of miming and hanging out with that 2-year-old, he definitely saved me from going fully stir crazy. But yeah, I would recommend having portable chargers that can keep you afloat with Google Translate. Really doing some research about what the boat might entail if you're going to be staying on there for 2 days by yourself.
Wow. EJ, you just dropped a whole bunch of bombs, but I do want to lift up one of the things because I'm about to travel solo as well. The idea of joining a tour group as soon as you get somewhere. That way you're automatically getting used to the area and you're also like making some friends and some allies. That's really important. But
I'm sorry, that is funny to me, EJ. I'm just imagining you just muddy water, muddy water, muddy water, and just not being any oh my gosh. But you got through it, and you'll always have that memory.
That is so.
I got to Chiang Mai, Thailand, and had the best food cooking class I've ever taken. So the journey was worth it. I would say, just look at it from the shore.
And good on you for in the earlier trip for powering through after you sliced your foot open. I stepped on a sea urchin once in Greece, and it was like the second day there, and I was traveling with a Mediterranean friend. She's from Turkey, so she's just like, I got you. Just let me take care of it. But it was an awful experience. And you're just like, I'm across the world and I'm injured. What do I do?
No, you give full trust to strangers in that moment. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so we've already covered a lot of tips and tricks, but I'm curious specifically about, we're talking about international travel because I'm heading to Estonia and Finland at the beginning of August, and I'm curious what the first things you would do if you were in my shoes. So we just talked about like maybe taking a tour, but also if you have any tips for booking like a banging Airbnb, like something like that, all those kinds of things. Kristie, what about you first?
Okay, I love looking for Airbnb. I love looking for great Airbnbs. The first thing I do is start figuring out what neighborhood I want to be in. Because if you're taking a trip anywhere, you're not going to be there ever long enough to do the whole like 20 to 30-minute commute into the city thing. And so you want to be like centrally located. You want to be in a cool neighborhood that you kind of like want to walk to shops and restaurants and stuff like that. So you want to find the cool, trendy neighborhood or whatever neighborhood that suits you. And so I would start there. And usually I would look for, I'm a little bougie at this point.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'll look for things like modern, like furniture, like I want the bedspreads to look kind of new. Things like that. If I'm staying in an Airbnb, I definitely want a kitchen so I can cook myself breakfast. All of those things are probably where I would start. And then I keep a wish list of like really cool Airbnbs, like tree houses, like boats, and all those. So I might look at that. A lot of those are really pricey though, so it depends. And then Airbnb also has its own curated list of like specific places that will, like, if you want to stay in a yurt, for instance, or something like that, you could like start there as well if you have no budget.
EJ, what about for you?
Yeah, those are all really great tips. I share the same enthusiasm for finding a gem of a B&B. I think that reviews are honest and read them, along with those filters of a super host. And I actually like it if I'm traveling solo to have a host that's really available for some interaction, right? So it's not just I'm renting your space and you're not there, but maybe you're willing to, meet me at a cafe or even I'm picturing it's an outdoor space at the B&B. I like some outdoor space too. But you can give me some tips and insight into the area too. I like some interaction if I'm solo. If I'm in a group, maybe a little bit less interaction, but definitely those things. And lastly, I think it's important to think about how long you're going to be there, right? And so I think that in my order of my mind, I'm like, book your flight, book some lodging, and kind of plan out your itinerary. And as Kristie said earlier, we have a general idea of what we're going to do, but you may not need 5 nights in one place. So you may want to splurge a little bit, just 2 nights. And then a place where you may have to kind of hunker down for more days, settle for something that's more within your budget.
That's good.
EJ and I stayed in 3 amazing Airbnbs when we went to Colombia together.
Wow. 3, I don't even think, like, my brain doesn't think, let's stay in 3 different Airbnbs. I'm always like, okay, we're going on a trip. We get the Airbnb. That's where we will be the whole time. But I love that you just said you can think about staying in different ones. Like, why not? I like that.
Yeah, we hopped, and so we thought about, well, we could take a 4-hour bus between a city, or we could pay $20 for a 40-minute flight. So, decisions were made to make sure that we could see different cities in that same amount of time, and then really enjoy Airbnbs. They were amazing.
Especially if you're going to internationally, you're usually taking a very long flight. So you're like, let's make the most of that time. That's why I went to like 3 different cities when I was in Japan. We went down to Colombia, like we went to like 4 or 5 different places. When I'll be in Europe in the fall, and I'm going to like 4 places.
Well, everybody, make sure you're following them, because you're gonna wanna watch these. Actually, let me put y'all's stuff on the bottom there. Make sure that you are following. Okay, so I want to get to audience questions. So this is my last, this is me and Justin and I's last question. What are your absolute essential travel items? Whether it's a type of suitcase, a specific type of headphones, anything you want to share. EJ already said portable chargers. Kristie said a tripod. What else you got? We can start with EJ.
Kristie put me on to this Everlane travel duffel bag. She might know the exact name.
Yeah. It's like the backpack duffel bag. So it has straps where you could put it on your back, but then it also carries like a duffel bag.
Ooh.
And it's great.
So all those who are like Kristie and myself, we no longer do check-ins. It's a carry-on only life. You make it fit in there. But it's wonderful that these backpack straps can kind of get you from place to place. I think it's also really important to think about, scrapping the travel pillow. It ends up being weight that you have to carry on. You want to bring an extra hoodie, roll it up, make a little pillow for yourself. That's fantastic. And I think an international data plan. I think that, things are going to come up, whether you have to order an Uber or need some Google Translate moments, you're going to need some access. The Wi-Fi only life is mostly doable around the world, especially, in many different countries. It's up and running. However, there are moments where you might be on the road and you can't get into a cafe that you might need that.
That's very true. I love that. Kristie, what about you?
To piggyback on EJ's things, yes, please scrap the travel pillow. But like the thing that I would bring to replace that would be this Turkish towel, which is like super thin, and it can operate as a towel, a blanket, a scarf, and if you roll it up as a pillow.
Where do you get that?
You can find different brands on it online. I think Tima is one, Sand Cloud is another, and if you Google on Amazon Turkish towel, like you'll find it. They are quick drying. If you need like to put an extra layer on your bed because if the sheets are weird, or you could use it as a blanket, or you could use it as a towel. Like, I love it. I truly pack it with me every time I go, just for that added cloth of protection.
That's awesome. I am absolutely getting a Turkish towel in one of those duffel bags.
Yeah.
One last thing that Kristie and I are obsessed with are hiking sandals that are lightweight, waterproof. They're kind of cute. Keep it all black. You're going to be doing a lot of walking, especially in Europe, going through all these cathedrals and national parks. But they're super comfy. They'll keep you going all day. You don't want to have to cut out anything from your itinerary because your feet hurt.
What are they called?
They're just I got mine from Teva or Teva. I don't know how you say it, but like there's also brands on like Amazon that sell it for super cheap. They're just like super comfy like sandals that you could go and use them for the water, hiking, or anything like that.
Hiking sandals.
Pretty much.
They're hiking sandals and they're like strappy. You can even dress them up if you're wearing, a sundress or you're having a nice dinner out.
Nice.
Sandals don't get messed up by the hiking sandals. I'll say that.
And one kind of like non-essential but essential for me.
Yes.
Is room spray, and that's because sometimes I'm very sensitive to smells. So like whether it's a hotel room or Airbnb, like sometimes there's something that doesn't smell good, and bring room spray.
Yep.
Or if I forget my room spray, I'll literally go out and buy a candle, and it's like a helpful like thing to make me feel like at home at the place where I'm staying.
That's so wonderful.
I'm so sorry. One more thing.
Yes.
Fanny packs are back in all sizes, all colors. I think that they are a fantastic accessory, and they are so functional for carrying your passport, a little bit of money, a little bit of card, some of your like bug spray. That's my natural scent when I travel anywhere because the mosquitoes are very disrespectful. So that's my natural scent. But fanny packs are very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Gosh.
As well as those backpacks or totes that fold up into like a little packet. And if you're like, I need an extra tote when I'm traveling, because you're like going to the beach, or you need a backpack because you're hiking, like they're super compact, but super helpful when you are traveling.
I love that. Uniqlo sells a lot of those good accessories. You have to find those online that do that. They're so genius about making like full jackets that like then become like a coin purse. I love that for my travel. Those are all so helpful. Now we have time for just like one or two audience questions. So I'm gonna pop it to our studio audience, and I think this one's really interesting, and I'm wondering what your take is. So Laura Rose says, for EJ, my question is, what are your flight booking tips to find that great deal? So this is one that we all struggle with.
I will admit that I planted my sister. Glad she came through. So Kristie and I are in agreement on this. We do a lot of flight tracking. We use Google Flights and Hopper. We also play around with dates to figure out like, if you leave on a Tuesday, could that be better if you have some flexibility in your schedule? I often do not have flexibility because I'm on a school schedule and you just got the breaks that you got. So I try and also think about being creative with layovers. I like to have a long layover and check out a new place, especially if you're in somewhere that's very compact like Europe. You could get a layover both ways. And shout out to Iceland Air. One day I will take them up on their offer. You can do up to a 7-day layover. Haven't done it yet. We'll do it one day.
Oh.
So I think those two things are really important.
Nice.
Also, United has this like excursionist perk that I want to take advantage of someday too, where you get to fly into a different city, and as long as you're in a different region, you can like fly out, and it will be $0 for that fly for that layover experience.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
It's called the excursionist perk if anyone wants to look it up.
Nice. Wow. Lulu, what are your suggestions for making it easier to see the best local favorite sites? Yeah, maybe like website. What do you do?
I think it's helpful, especially if you're doing solo travel. Most taxi drivers around the world also do a side hustle of touring. And so it's fun to like get a ride from the airport and be like, hey, do you ever do tours? And then they'll take you often to their favorite eateries or their favorite neighborhoods. And then you can kind of communicate with them daily, like, hey, I might want to check this museum out. Can you come pick me up? I think that's helpful.
That's the best advice. That's actually exactly what I do when I land in a new city. I ask my Uber driver, I'm like, hey, what's your favorite place? What's your favorite place to eat? What's your favorite place to go see? And they usually always have good recommendations.
That's great. I hadn't ever thought about that. I get in that taxi and I'm like, don't talk to me. I got to get out. I get in that Airbnb. I'm changed now. I have one last question from
if you're traveling solo to Estonia and Finland, like you definitely should talk to them.
Wow. Okay. So our last one comes from Madonna Cabrera. How do you travel while staying on a budget? You've hinted at this, but anything specific for that?
I'm waiting on.
I wasn't sure which one.
I can go first. I think it's helpful to really be honest about areas that your budget can be kind of cut in. So food is one of those, right? If you're cooking in your Airbnb, if you're packing some granola bars and you're snacking, that's an option. I think that excursions are some things that you really you have to splurge on, right? So if you're going to go all the way to New Zealand and not bungee jump, then that's your choice, right? But if you want to, then it comes at a pretty high cost. And so I think that food and lodging are areas in ways you can kind of dabble and play around with your budget. But when it comes to activities, I mean, another option that we did in Colombia was we joined a group from a local hostel, came onto a party bus, went out to this really cool restaurant and party till 6 a.m., taking shots at aguardientes. But what was most important is that we shared the cost of all of that with strangers. And so I think even if you're doing solo travel, try and link yourself up with the meetup groups or even, a little IG tagging to see where people are and who might be interested in kind of sharing those costs with you.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I think it's really important to plan. So where costs go awry is when you're trying to be spontaneous or when you're trying to just like not think about money, and that's when you're like spending money like crazy and you're not like keeping track of your budget. So if you have a budget and you're trying to stay on top of it, you have to plan. You have to track that. It's something that I know people don't love doing, but that is like the deal. Like you have to look at the deals beforehand. You have to book the excursion, or if you want to do one particularly fancy restaurant, like the cost for that, but then everything else is more like hole in the wall type of places, and that's great, and that will help keep you on budget.
Wow, I am feeling so inspired. Thank you, EJ and Kristie, for sharing all of your travels and tips and tricks. I think it's time to just play some games. What do you think, Jaylene?
I think let's do it. And this is our rapid fire questions. So you got to be, don't think, just say it. Just say
We're
it.
going to go back and forth. So EJ, I'll start with you, and then Kristie will get the next question, EJ the next one. So back and forth like that, okay? So EJ, we'll start with you. Airbnb or hotel?
Airbnb.
Kristie, favorite genre of music to listen to on the plane?
Hip hop.
EJ, adventure or relaxation?
Adventure.
Kristie, book you'll take on your next trip.
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
a book you'll take on your next trip, if you take books.
I'm taking the Crying in H Mart next week.
Wow, my husband's reading that right now. Okay, EJ, carry on or check bag?
Carry on only.
Oh, I love that. Kristie, favorite location you visited?
Japan.
EJ, emergency exit row or window seat?
Emergency exit every time.
Oh, I really want to ask more about that, but I can't. Kristie, 6 a.m. flight or midnight flight?
Oh, midnight flight.
Wow, I have so many follow-up questions. EJ, outdoor pool or beach? Outdoor pool or beach?
Beach.
Kristie, would you rather sit next to a crying baby or someone who keeps farting on the plane?
Oh my god! I guess the crying baby, because I hate smells.
You need the candle. Can't have a candle on a plane. And then for both of you, EJ, something pink.
Flamingo.
Kristie,
What?
something pink. Something pink.
Something pink? Lipstick?
Yes. Oh, good job, you two.
We did it. We
Wait,
did it.
last life hack about the emergency exit row. Sometimes if you don't pay for your seat and then you make sure you tell when you're checking in, I speak English and whatever other language maybe, then they will often put you in that emergency exit row for free.
Ah.
Also, if you are picking your seat, it helps to pick a seat near the emergency exit row, so when they look for volunteers, you could be like,
Wow.
Smart. Smart.
Okay, so Jaylene.
Next game. Okay, we're gonna do what Justin calls the alphabet game. Where's my sign? Here it is.
Yes.
And the theme is vacation. So we go through the alphabet. We'll do me, Justin, EJ, Kristie, and we'll just keep going around like that. And you have to think of something related to vacation that starts with your letter. So I'm gonna start.
And the Y. A. Yeah, go A.
A, I'm gonna say American Airlines because that's what I fly.
B for British Airways, because that's how I get to the UK.
C, I'm going to go with cruise.
Yes.
D for, I'm not good at this game. Delta?
There you go.
E for elephants, which you might see when you travel.
F for Finland, which is where I'm going.
G for Ghana. So Kristie can get a separate shout out.
H for hotel or hostel.
Yes.
Depending on where you want to go.
I for igloo, because you can stay in an igloo probably. They probably got an igloo Airbnb, and I will not be there because I hate the cold. Go ahead, Justin.
J for Japan, because it was mentioned, and I desperately want to go there. I'm speaking it into existence.
K for kangaroo, because I may have broken a toe running from a kangaroo.
Oh my gosh.
L for layovers, because they actually could be a good thing.
M for money, because you better have some if you're going to travel.
Yes. P for
N
for no. You need to learn how to say yes and no. Those are basic words that you should learn in the language you go. So no is tricky. And in Greece, it's ohi, which is like, it kind of sounds like okay. So it's like, it's kind of the opposite. And yes is nay. So you're just like, my brain is breaking. So anyway, ohi and nay. Sorry, EJ, go ahead.
I'm going to go with open-minded. Just be open and willing to try something new.
P for parks, which are almost always on my to-do list when I visit place.
Q for quiet, because sometimes, as EJ said, you need that quiet time to recharge.
Yes, mine's similar. It's R for relax. Make sure you build in that little time where you're not doing, but you just like, everybody's going to just chill right now.
S for sunset. That is my favorite time of day. Throw in a picture of the nice beach view, and I am happy as a clam.
T for Turkish towels. Definitely bring them.
U for Uganda, which is the place you should visit.
V for vacation.
There you go.
X.
UVW.
Oh, good. Thanks, Kristie. W. I'm going to go with Wyoming, because I don't think we should sleep on domestic national parks. And I think
There you go.
Nice one.
Good one. X.
Don't be extra.
I love that. I love that. Y for yellow, because yellow is a nice bright color to wear on vacation. It'll pop in your pictures. So yes.
And Z for Zimbabwe, which is the trip the four of us will take in another dimension.
Great. There we go. Yay! We did it. We did it, Joe. Well, we are at the end. This has been so amazing. I want to commit to making a little graphic with the information that y'all shared. Don't hold me to it because then I start to get anxiety about extra things I need to do. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do a graphic with all the information that y'all shared because this has been just so incredible. Please join us for our next episode of Poppa Pank, which will be in 2 Wednesdays from now. So Wednesday, July 28th at 9 p.m. featuring Brianna. She didn't come, what was it, last week? We had some connection issues, but she'll be here with us back in the United States. So please join us for that episode. You do not want to miss it. And we always end our shows with our Pank freestyle.
Oh, here comes the anxiety.
Yep, here it comes. So this is where, none of us are freestyle rappers here on this show. But we're just gonna flow with it. We're just gonna see what comes out.
Okay, so Jaylene's gonna give me a topic. EJ, I'll give you a topic. EJ, you give Kristie a topic. Kristie, you'll give Jaylene, and Jaylene will round us out. So
I don't know what we're doing.
just freestyling. You'll get it. We're just gonna freestyle. Here we go.
Justin, your word is, we'll just give you travel.
Travel. I travel near and far. I try by plane, by car. I see all the sights. I feel all the mites. I go with my friends and I go to the ends. Oh my gosh. Okay, so EJ, one thing we were talking about was budget. Can you freestyle on budget?
What?
Yeah.
Well, mine's going to be a bit shorter because I think that, it's going to be worth more than just a quarter. Because when we think about a budget, we got to keep it 100. That's all I got.
Yeah! That was perfect. Oh my God, EJ, that was perfect. Okay, give Kristie hers.
I'm going to give her towel because the Turkish towel is now embedded in my brain.
Yeah.
When you go to the beach, you need to reach for a Turkish towel. Don't
Towel is hard.
Towel's hard.
You might have to buy a vowel.
I have to buy a vowel. There's too much sand everywhere. But the towel can clear the
hair. Yeah.
Okay, Jaylene, take us home. Kristie, give Jaylene a topic.
Planes.
Planes? Listen, you gotta go on a plane, okay? You gotta go on a plane, you gotta fly. So just look at your loved ones and say bye because you're going away. You're flying far. You deserve it. Take that vacation. You are a star. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh, what a good ending to our episode. Before we leave, Kristie, EJ, can you take a picture with us really quickly? Jaylene, you got this? How are you taking it?
I do. Okay, I'll leave that there. Okay, here we go. And we're smiling. Cheese. And just one more. Cheese. Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone, give it up in the comments for Kristie and EJ. Show them some love. Follow them on IG. I'm telling you, follow them now, okay? Because when they go on their trips, you don't want to miss out. I'm telling you right now. So go follow them.
Cabo and Hawaii together.
Yeah, we'll be going to Cabo and Hawaii in August.
She and I.
Cabo and Hawaii, is that one trip?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just cause Cobble in Hawaii. So go follow them. Kristie is at KTOTHEYEUNG and EJ is at E.JOTAA. So for our listeners tuning in, please go follow them on Instagram. You won't regret that. Thank you so much, EJ and Kristie. It has been a pleasure, and we'll say bye to you now.
Okay, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Oh, Jaylene, I love that. I love them.
I have great friends.
You have such great friends. I want to travel with your friends.
Listen, I'm gonna get in on one of them. Matter of fact, okay, we going tubing soon.
You all are going tubing?
Yes. And so I'm listen, it's gonna be great. It's
we usually plug our new projects here. What project are you plugging?
My project is Vacation, honey. So I did LA. Where else are we going? I'm doing Buffalo. Hey Tracy. Buffalo, Atlanta, and Miami. Hey Akeem. So yeah, what you doing?
I'm doing Maine next week. Hey Scott. And then I'm doing Estonia. Hey Estonia. And then I'm doing Finland. Hey Finn. And then just living the life.
Bring me back some lobster rolls from Maine. Thank you.
You know.
Listen, we need to talk
I'll put it right on the dashboard under the heat. So the 8 hours drive from there to here, it'll be like nice and toasty for you.
So good. All right, JJ Proverb. We end the day with the JJ Proverb, which is where Justin
I gotta make this fast.
Says an idiom or something that he makes up. So
I don't know how
give us a proverb on expanding your horizons, because you do that when you travel.
Oh yeah. Just open your eyes, or you won't smize. That's similar to an old one, but I think
yes, it is.
Just open your eyes, otherwise you won't smize. But that's kind of contradictory. At any rate, everybody, this is the point where we ask you for donations. Please, you can just open your eyes or you won't smize. We are producing this all on our own. So if you are feeling ever so compelled, please feel free to give us money. I'm looking for the thing. At any rate, if you can't give to, you can donate to us at Poppa Pank or Cash App, $ Poppa Pank, PayPal, we're there. Or you could just email us, poppapink@gmail.com. Or if you can't give to us, the thing that can go really far is if you download our app or download our podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, that kind of thing, and leave us a review. Please leave us a review, rate us 5 stars. All of those, they do have a lot of capital out there in the world. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
You don't even know. We're out of here. We're 9 minutes over it, but it's been great because we just have so much information, and I will try my best to get y'all that graphic. Okay, so you can have the tips and tricks. Chips and tricks. Chips and dip.
Chips and dips. We're gonna put some chips and dips, a chips and dips giveaway, along with an 8-hour lobster roll for anybody that donates below.
Yeah.
We want to thank some people: Jordan McCree, who wrote our music; Tracy Cassius, our studio editor. Thank you, Tracy.
We love you.
Our past guests and our followers, you, our studio audience that's listening, Pank Poppas, and our guests, EJ and Kristie. Thank you so much. Plug us on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, Insta. We love you, Paul. I think that's it.
And with that note, have a wonderful night. We'll talk to you later. Bye.